Metallic Rouge is an original IP from Studio Bones that premiered during the winter 2024 anime season. It's a sci-fi series that follows an android named Rouge Redstar and a government agent named Naomi Orthman as they hunt down the Immortal Nine, the original 9 androids ever created that have turned their backs on their creators. It's been years since an alien race named the Junoids invaded the solar system. Another alien race named the Visitors arrived and helped humanity create means to fight back. Means are androids governed by the 3 laws, and with their help, the Junoids were fought to a stalemate. In the wake of the war, means have become indentured servants and second-class citizens, in spite of being fully sentient and fully capable of experiencing something akin to emotion. This isn't anything new, and this what if slavery but type of narrative has been a staple in fiction for decades. Regardless, the setting alone sounds like the kind of background a sprawling space epic would take place in. Unfortunately, Metallic Rouge wants to tell that kind of world-shattering story, but lacks the writing, character development, or pacing to accomplish that lofty goal. Studio Bones is a household name in the anime community, adapting hit manga like Fullmetal Alchemist, Mob Psycho 100, and of course My Hero Academia. In fact, it's not an exaggeration to say that Bones is one of the biggest names in the modern anime industry, rivaling former titans like KyoAni, Shaft, and Gainax. While they're often praised for their animation and direction, one of the things that they've struggled with is their original properties, specifically the weakness of the writing in properties that they're not adapting from another medium. Eureka 7 and Darker Than Black are some of the more well-known and well-regarded examples, but that trinity of related pillars are often cited as the issues keeping Bones' original IPs from joining the ranks of the GOATs like Cowboy Bebop, One Piece, or Attack on Titan. Metallic Rouge is no exception to these criticisms, and tries to cover far too much plot in far too short a time. To contradict this, far too much time is spent on inconsequential characters or plot points, as if they are central to the plot, only for them to mean very little to nothing once the endgame begins roughly 2/3 of the way through the show. In the first few arcs, the pacing actually holds up, and I thought this might be the show that finally proves Bones has learned from their earlier work. Characters are introduced, develop just enough to understand them and their motivations, and then those arcs resolve with Rouge and Naomi a bit closer to their overall objective. But at the halfway point, the plot veers hard right into a conflict between the main heroines that leads to the introduction of a Neen resistance, a traveling circus, multiple members of the Immortal Nine, and a half a dozen other characters that are all somehow both important to the overall plot and yet have less than 10 minutes of screen time between them across the entire series. Every arc beyond episode 4 does this, adding more new characters and plot threads without using them, developing them, exploring them, or even acknowledging them until the last 2 or 3 episodes. The problem with that is that the last arc of this one core show is already packed with revelation after revelation after revelation and sees tertiary characters becoming central antagonists, old enemies becoming friends, and characters that have been in the first half of the series just disappearing with no explanation. Again, it's clear that the writers really wanted to write an epic for the ages, a solar system spanning tale of oppression, revolution, and what it means to be human and have free will. All the pieces are there, but like a child with a 1,500-piece puzzle, they just can't seem to figure out where to start, or how to assemble more than a few small chunks at a time. Given more time to cook, and maybe 24 episodes instead of just 13, this might have been the best show of the year. If the writers had given any of the dozens of characters room to breathe, or God forbid, simply cut some of them, or maybe some of the plot lines, they might have been able to salvage a compelling story that would fit into 13 episodes, and possibly get a second season greenlit as a result. As it stands, Metallic Rouge, like many Bones IPs, struggles to see past its own grand ambitions to actually bother telling a compelling story. Of the dozen or so characters that are present in the last episodes, most have only shown up once or twice before. The biggest offender that comes to my mind in particular is played up as a stoic on the wrong side trying to protect the woman he loves. This character gets more screen time and voiced lines during his death speech than he does during the entire rest of the show. The music swells, the character that defeated him says some platitudes, and I'm left feeling nothing because I have no attachment to the defeated villain. I wouldn't even remembered his name if they hadn't just been screaming their names at each other 15 seconds earlier. That's right, the fight between them goes from climactic battle to death speech in about 15 seconds. And most of the fights in the show are like this. The players are built up to be hugely powerful and dangerous, but in the end the fights themselves last a matter of seconds and give the seasoned animators very little time to do what they do best. Style is there, the world building is there, but it's all flashing lights and sound for nothing. Metallic Rouge was supposed to be Bones' newest original IP and their first in years. People were excited, including me. The main duo in Rouge and Naomi are great together, most of the time. And if more time had been spent developing them and their relationship rather than having them yanked from plot point to plot point, the show could have had a great emotional core to build the rest of the story around. What it and Bones do is make the same fatal mistake that other novice writers often do, allowing the plot to drive the characters instead of the characters driving the plot. And that's the main takeaway for me. Metallic Rouge, like so many other Bones IPs, will live rent-free in my head for years, not because of what they were, but because of what they could have been. As always, thanks for watching, and remember before we go that your life has value, and that the world is a better place with you in it. Never let anyone tell you otherwise, and I'll see you next time.